Welcome to Blending the Family, the podcast. Topics can range from what is good wine on a first date, parenting tips, and not being afraid to ask for help. Here's your host, who was told by a guest at one time that he was a podcast influencer. How about them apples? Well, you know the truth about that statement. Tommy Maloney.
Welcome to another edition of the podcast known as Blending the Family. I'm your host, in quarantine, in Colorado, Tommy Maloney, and I just realized I have some dirt in my mouth. A little better. Dirt doesn't taste good, especially when you're trying to record. I just got done mowing the yard and just had some dirt in my mouth. You doing good? You enjoying your quality time, possibly with your significant other? Are you ready to? You can't go anywhere really. I mean, some states are starting to open up, but are you just? Have you had it? Or let's flip it. Are you just discovering new and interesting things that if you hadn't been quarantined, you wouldn't have discovered? I think that's a cool thing. And I'm going to tell you right now, and ironically, our guest, I'm going to mention our guest in a little bit, but I don't miss sports. I thought I would, but I'm not missing sports. Are you? This isn't just a guy question. This is a both male-female question. Are you missing sports? For some reason, I'm not. I have been really bad. I bought three more books off of Amazon. Bad boy. And I just love reading. What can I say? Just love reading. You know what? Here, let me grab. See if I can grab. Oh, I've got headphones. I got headphones in, so can't go far. Okay. All right. So I got How We Love by Milan and Kay Yorkovich. The Alchemist, Paulo Coelho. Excellent book. I know this is going to be a great book. Just before I mention the third book, I'm starting to reread and really focus in on Think and Grow Rich. Matter of fact, I want to create, and maybe I'll post it sometime on the Instagram, Blending Family on the Instagram. I might do a vision board just for Think and Grow Rich. And the third book I got is from one of my favorite speakers, business gurus. Just, I love his content on LinkedIn, on Instagram. Simon Sinek, I got his new book, The Infinite Game. So there you go, the 3 books. How We Love, The Alchemist, and The Infinite Game. And like I said, I have headphones in. I'm just going to drop them right here and put that away. The office is a mess, and one day I'll explain why. But anyway, Joe Hawley is on this episode. If you, speaking of sports, all right, Joe Hawley is a former NFL player. He played for the Atlanta Falcons. He played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, retired from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back in 2018. There's a great article, and I'll put that in the show notes, by Tom Schad. It was an article in USA Today, I think way back in the day. I'm going to rhyme some more, hey? I don't know. I'm going crazy. But Joe Hawley, what he did was, after he retired, he sold all his possessions, bought a van, adopted a dog named Freedom. I love this dog. And right now, if you follow Joe on Instagram, you'll know he's actually here. Well, not physically here, but he's in the state of Colorado working on a book. And So excited about that. And he didn't mention in the interview, but I guess it wasn't processed. I don't know. So he's right now in Colorado working on a new book, and he announced on his newsletter that he is going to be starting a podcast here soon. Super excited to share this episode with you. Now, I will tell you, around the 43 minute mark in the interview, we're getting ready to wrap up and had some technical problems. So what I was doing was I was sending Joe the questions through chat, and then real smart guy. Here's speaker 101 for you. Okay, if you're ever speaking to a group and you're taking questions from the audience, repeat the question to the group. Does that make sense? I hope so. Anyway, so Joe was smart enough and he repeated the questions that I was sending to him. So please bear with the technical issues at the end. Okay. Like I mentioned, we do talk about his Instagram feed. We talk about life on the road, living in the van. I was super excited because he got his dog Freedom a collar a couple years ago, and now my allergies are kicking in. I'm sorry. Anyway, Freedom got a Chicago Cubs collar, and I had to ask baseball questions as far as, does he follow baseball? Does he have a favorite team? How did that get involved? He talks a lot about some positive things like visualization, yoga, his eating habits. He eats pretty clean. I mean, I couldn't do it, especially when we talk about mushrooms. I hate mushrooms. Despise mushrooms. So, Joe Hawley, you can find him on Instagram, Man Van Blog Dog. Or is it the other way around? Anyway, it'll be in the show notes. Don't worry. But he does go by Joe Hawley, Hawley, on the Instagram. Okay, so there you are. Whew, a lot we covered. We covered a lot. I hope you're doing well. Hope you're able to go outside, enjoy the vitamin D when you can. We here are doing good, except my wife is here home. I'm a little paranoid that I don't want to be too loud, but she's working from home the next couple days, and she took shelter in one of the spare bedrooms, and I was able to retain the office because I'm a slob. I've got 2 laptops going on, the microphone, speakers, the whole 9 yards when you're doing a podcast. So please sign up for the newsletter. Go to the website, blendingfamily.com. New newsletter will be out for the month of May. Actually, there'll be 2 going out month of May. So please sign up for the newsletter. And I think that's really it. Mentioned I don't like mushrooms. Cubbies. Joe has a new book. Will have a new book. Don't know when it will be coming out. New podcast. Don't know when it will be coming out. So stay tuned. But get him. Find him on Instagram, and you'll see Freedom, the dog. He is. I just love his dog. I love dogs. I miss dogs. I miss having Dookie around. So there you go. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. I think I've bored you for coming up on 10 minutes. 10 minutes I've sat here and squeaked my chair and drank water with ice in it, and eating dirt. And there you go. So thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. I know I say this a lot, and it really hit home recently about the Terry Crews line about your success is my success. And I heard a story recently about it was here it is. I was listening to a podcast, and they were interviewing Sarah Blakely, the CEO and founder of Spanx, and Jesse Itzler, her husband, who he's a multimillionaire himself. I mean, Sarah Blakely's a billionaire, but they are the funniest couple. Find them on Instagram as well. But they talk about each other's success and how they are cheerleaders for each other's success. And it really, like I said, it really hit home. Listening to these two multi-millionaires / one's a billionaire, and they're just, like I said, the goofiest people. They've got 4 kids, and they're just like normal people. I mean, it's just bizarre. But again, just listening to these two talk about how, they care for one another and they care for each other's success. I didn't see or hear any jealousy on this interview, and it was just wonderful. It was just so refreshing to hear these two talk about how they care about each other and how much they care about watching each other grow, their businesses and their family. And so there you go. So Terry Crews, your words have struck a chord with me, and I hope they struck a chord with you. And just remember, your success will be my success, and I hope one day my success will be your success. Thanks for listening. Please leave a rating and review however you get this podcast. Now, enjoy this interview with Joe Hawley, former NFL pro with the Atlanta Falcons and Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but more importantly, he's a dog owner. Kudos. Shout out to freedom. Go Cubs, go.
Warning. You're about to listen to a conversation, not an interview.
At least 3 months since I've been begging to get you on the podcast.
Oh man, I'm glad we made it happen.
Me too. I'm super excited about this because I really want. Here's something really funny, Joe. I was telling my mom. My mom knows as much about sports as my coffee mug here. And I was telling her that you were coming on the podcast, and I said your name, and she said, I've heard of him. Yeah, he was the guy in the van. I'm like, how do you know? She goes, he was on the news. I'm like, oh my gosh. So if my mom knows about you, Joe, that is super cool in my book.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
So back in 2018, you retire from the NFL, and have you had this plan all along of selling all your possessions to charity and getting a van and adopting Freedom, your dog, or was this just a whim?
It's a good question. I mean, do we really have anything planned? I mean, I think I knew kind of leading up to it, like the last probably couple months, the idea was planted. Last couple months of my last season, the idea was planted in my head that there was something I wanted to do like this. But as soon as that last game I played, and I knew I was done, and I was walking away, I really had this like kind of deep void within myself, within my heart, and I was really lost and didn't know what to do. And I thought that it was a great opportunity to go explore my freedom for the first time. And I thought, what better way to do that than to a van and do a road trip. And I feel like, everybody at some point in their life, growing up, especially in this country, dreams of doing just a road trip with nowhere to go, nowhere to be, and just being able to explore. And I found myself with a very unique opportunity to go do that. And I obviously didn't expect it to turn into this life-changing odyssey that I went on, where I learned so much about myself and who I am. And I really didn't expect the blog that I started to grow into anything, but it's led to a lot of opportunities. It's, been amazing building community around it. And it's been awesome hearing from so many people about how my story has inspired them to, make a positive change in their lives. And so it's just continued to impact my life. It's been amazing.
Can we go back to that day, Joe, that last game playing for Tampa, and you just saying, I'm done? I mean, how did you know? Other than I believe from Tom Schad's USA article, it noted that Tampa wasn't going to re-sign you, so you sort of saw the writing on the wall. But was it your gut feeling just saying, I'm done? Was it also one of those situations where we read a lot about former NFL players who just can't get out of bed, with all the pain that their bodies have succumbed to? So what was that aha moment for you, Joe, just saying, I'm done?
Yeah, I think it was a slow process. I think every guy playing, especially playing as long as I did, gets to a point where they start questioning every year, like, do I want to do this again next year? Do I want to do this again next year? When am I going to call it quits? Because my body is really getting beat up, and especially for me, my knees are bad, my ankles, my neck, and I've had these injuries that were mounting up, and I was actually prepared to be done after my 7th year, but I was a free agent, so I decided to test the market. It didn't really go that well, but I ended up re-signing with Tampa for that 1 year. And I think the big moment when I realized it was really coming to a close was I actually lost the starting job that year to Ali Marpet, who was a younger guy, and they actually didn't know this at the time, but they brought me back kind of as in that leadership mentor role to kind of groom him to be the next center. And so I spent the majority of that season until a couple guys got hurt, and I ended up starting the last few games, which was an awesome opportunity to play some more before I called it quits. But I spent the majority of that season on the sidelines. And I remember one moment I was on the sidelines, in my street clothes, not even dressing, as just one of the backups. And I remember feeling totally content. And, that was just not like me. My whole career, I always wanted to be on the field. If I wasn't on the field contributing, I really felt like I was just letting my teammates down, like I wasn't a part of the team. And at that point, I was just happy not playing. And I realized, I'm not going to, I'm ready for something new. I'm ready for a new experience. I'm ready for a new challenge. And my heart's just not in this anymore. Even though I love it, I still loved it. I still do love it. I love the games. And I had an opportunity after a couple guys got hurt to actually play my last 3 games of my career, which was a really cool thing that, having an opportunity to really go out there and play and finish out my whole career, with a bang like that was pretty special. But yeah, I just realized like it's just not for me anymore. And so it was like a slow process. It wasn't like this big, oh, now I'm done because Tampa told me I wasn't going to play anymore. It was a slow, trying to take care of my health and figure out what's next for me.
Did you go through any kind of depression after you hung up the cleats?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a very, very happy guy. I think I'm different than most guys. I was really looking forward to being done playing and what the next experience was going to be. And I would say 99% of all athletes probably their career is over before they would like it to be. And I was one of the rare cases, and I feel very, very lucky to say that I could walk away on my own terms. And I'm really grateful that I had that. So I was not expecting that when I was done to really feel that void and that darkness, and that like I really had like a physical pain of something missing. And so I can't imagine what it must be like for people who, when it's taken from them before they're ready, what they must feel like. And so I definitely felt like something was missing. I felt really lonely, isolated. I went through a pretty major breakup at the time too. So I, leading up into this big move into the van, it was like I felt like I needed to do it because I was going through this huge transition. And I just trusted myself and I leaned into the unknown, and I ended up working on this new project, which ended up being the van. And there's still times now when I still think about football and miss like what life used to be like in the old days. But there's always like, it's such a reminder that life is impermanent and everything flows, and there's always different phases of life, and there's always good things ahead. And so it's just continue to look forward and create the life that I want to live.
What was a day in a life for you, Joe, when you were in the van?
When I wasn't in the van?
When you were in the van, when you were...
Oh, when I was in the van.
Yeah.
Man, it was total freedom. I don't think there's anything like hopping in a van and hitting the open road and, just driving. I'd stop. I'd go to different cities. I'd have like a city in mind. I'd drive for a few hours, go to the city. First thing I would do, I'd usually take Freedom to the local dog park, let her run around. She's been to probably more different dog parks than most people could even think of. I'd stop at a lot of parks. I would get out and do some yoga. I had all my food right there. I would cook a meal up in my van. I'd stop, and it was really nice having that, like all that right there, so I could really, cook healthy food and fuel my body with good nutrition. And then having the bed in the back, being able to like drive at night and then stop and just hop in the back and sleep and then wake up the next day and do it. And some days I'd go to national parks. I'd set up a little campsite, stay there for a few days, for a week, and go on hikes and just explore. And there was just really nothing better than just being able to go and live life like that. I really do miss it. I'm settled down now at the home base in Austin. Actually got a house here like right before this whole thing went down, which I'm really grateful for. But I'm thinking about going and taking a trip here in a week or two to go explore some more because I miss it so much.
Who's your favorite baseball team? Because a lot of your videos, you welcome your Instagram followers to meet you at a baseball game. So is there a particular baseball team that you follow?
So my story with why I liked getting into baseball and went to all these different stadiums is because I really didn't like baseball growing up. I played it. I was terrible. Any sport where I had to use hand-eye coordination was just not my thing. I'm glad I found football because it didn't really require that.
Especially as a center.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been like really athletic and been an athlete, but most of the sports I was just never could excel at because when I was younger, because it was this hand-eye coordination and I was just like, I'm never going to do this. And when I started football in high school, it was like, oh, I can use my whole body and my athleticism to move people out of the way and block. And like, that was just like, oh, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. But baseball, I never really, so I grew up in Anaheim. So the Angels were kind of my team growing up, but I just still never was really into it. And then probably 4 or 5 years ago, I got involved in fantasy baseball with one of my friends, and it was a really competitive league that they had been going on for like over a decade. And so he's like, if you join this, you have to be like super into it, or we have a spot open. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. So I got into it. Started like, I didn't want to like be someone that held the league back because I knew it was really competitive. So I dove into all the stats. I started creating Excel spreadsheets and learning more about the players and how the game works. And I got really fascinated with the game of baseball and how it works in the matchups and the stats. And I just loved the fantasy part of it. So I fell in love with all the players that were on my team, and they're all over the country. So I was like, wow, if I'm on this trip, I can go see all these different stadiums, see all these different players. So I didn't really have a team, which is why I like loved this opportunity to go see all these different teams. And while I was doing that experience, I fell in love with a few teams and their stadiums. And I think, the Chicago Cubs going to Wrigleyville really like solidified my love for baseball because of the history there, and the experience was just phenomenal. I really enjoyed going to Miller Park and watching the Brewers play. That stadium is awesome. And then I really fell in love with the Nationals. Not like this is a few years ago, but I love Max Scherzer. He was the pitcher I had, and he's really fun and really competitive, and the attitude he brings to the game, and when he's on the mound is just very unique, and it's amazing to watch. So, yeah, fell in love with the game.
Well, I'm very biased. I'm a Chicago boy, and I was super excited when your sidekick Freedom was showcasing her Chicago Cubs collar. I'm like, that is so cool, and that's why I had to give you some grief recently when Freedom was out in the back sun tanning without her collar on. So
yeah, she still got it. Now that she has a house, like she can lounge around in the nude. So it's nice for her.
So with you being a former professional athlete, and we hear all these horror stories about professional athletes not being very financially savvy. And I'm just guessing here, Joe, that eventually you had this thought, consciously, unconsciously, that you were, after you left NFL, that you might take this opportunity to just explore. My question is, how did you be so, conscious about making sure you saved enough money? Because it's, again, we read these horror stories of these professional athletes that, they buy the mansions, they buy the cars, the bling, and they're broke. So what was it? Your parents? Was it people that were surrounded by you? What made it so that you were able to do this, to live this freedom lifestyle?
Yeah, I mean, I think in our society and our culture, I think one of the real last taboos for everyone to talk about is money. And so, with my parents didn't really teach me. I didn't really know that much when I first got in. And, I definitely can sympathize with guys that, when you're making $100,000 a week, $200,000 a week, a couple $1 million a year, and you're able to spend that money, and then all of a sudden, when it's over, you're not making any money, that bank account will drain really quick. And I was always kind of aware of that and conscious of that. And even though I did get lost a bit, and once I started making some good money, about how I waited to buy a house until I made my second contract. I waited to get the nice car, and so I was always aware of like saving money. But it wasn't until I started my second contract, and I signed for, I think I was making $2 or $3 million a year, and I realized, okay, now I'm making some real money. I better find out for myself and educate myself on what this money's doing, because I like most people, hired a financial advisor, financial planner, and I was just trusted him to do my money. And he was good, but I was like, okay, I need to really know and protect myself and not rely on others. So I started reading a few books and educating myself on how the markets worked, how money works, how you can make money work for you. And as I started to learn, I started to ask. I started to create a foundation where I could ask the right questions, and it was less intimidating to me. Which it's such an intimidating subject when you look at the markets and like money and all the numbers, and you're just like, whoa. Most people are just like, I just let someone else worry about it. But once you get the base foundation and you start educating yourself on it, it's really not that complicated, the base part of it. I mean, you can get complicated with it, but realizing, okay, this is how money works, this is what's going on, and being able to ask the right questions gave me the ability to work with my financial planner. And I actually ended up realizing that I was outgrowing his kind of plan for my portfolio, because I started making some bigger chunks of money. So I ended up finding a better financial team to help me grow, and then being able to work with them and ask them the right questions. It's really all about educating yourself. And the NFL knows it's a problem. They try to bring in experts and people to talk to us, and that really helped me. But it's really about educating yourself. And I think it's just really hard. I mean, most guys, when you're 21, 22 coming out and you're making millions of dollars, I think when I was younger, one of the really things that had a profound impact on me is, most people, they go to college, they get out of college, they go get a job, entry-level job, maybe making 50, 60 to 100 grand a year, and they work, their lives continue to grow and get bonuses, raises, and then by the time they're in their 40s and 50s, they're making a good chunk of money. They're maybe making a couple $100,000 a year, and they're making the most of their retirement money. Then, for athletes, it's reverse. We're making the majority of our retirement money that we need to live on right away, and then we'll probably be making way less money later in life, unless we find something else to do and work towards that. But it's kind of reversed. So I always was like, okay, this is retirement money. I need to make sure I put a chunk of this in for retirement money to get me to where I want to go. And I think education is the key. That really is what it's all about.
What was, other than a house and a car back when you were still playing, what was the most unique purchase you made?
What was the most unique purchase I made? Man, nothing's really coming to mind. Hmm. I don't know. I mean, nothing's really coming to mind that's like out of the ordinary. I mean, I bought a pretty dope Jeep that I put, some money into. I got it lifted, got the tires, and I take it off roading sometimes. It's pretty fun. I don't know, bought a few kind of like pieces of art, but they're not like anything crazy. Yeah, I don't know, nothing really. I'm very frugal. I don't really need a lot of things to be happy. I'm not a big stuff kind of guy.
Were you like that as a kid too?
No, I really wanted a lot when I was a kid. I would always beg my mom for like the new bike or the Razor scooter or like whatever the new thing kids were doing, and I'd have to beg her. And yeah, I was just like everybody else. It was just realizing, coming to a point where I realized that stuff doesn't necessarily equal happiness, and there's nothing wrong with having things if they're fun, you enjoy them. Like if you're somebody who likes shoes and you have a closet full of 100 different pairs of shoes, and that's something that you just really love, it's like your thing, there's no problem with that. But for me to do that to impress somebody else, but it's not something that I really like love, but it's just something I can do because I have money, it's like you just got to have balance and find out what really sets your soul on fire. And if you like cars because cars are your thing and you like classic cars, like that's awesome. But I don't really like all that stuff. Like I'd rather spend my money on experiences and going and living life and learning and growing and traveling. And, that's just what sets my soul on fire. And, it's all about what brings you joy.
Well, one of the things I've noticed about you, Joe, is that you really embrace the world of being grateful and having gratitude. Was that also part of your upbringing, or was it part of your aha moment of, getting on the road?
I've always had like this happiness about me. Um, when I was in high school, my nickname was actually, they called me Happy Hawley. So I think I was born with this like innate, like just joy for life. I think doing all the work I've done over the last few years and all the books I've read, and realizing that, how we feel and that the emotional states we're in really affect the life that we're living. And it's all about our perspective. Like, it's wild to me that two people can go through the same exact experience but have totally different perspectives on what's going on. And so it really made me realize that our internal state and how we view the world from within ourselves is really more important, and that can shape how we navigate through reality. And I've found that gratitude for me has been the easiest way and the best way to keep my emotional state in a higher, vibration, like a higher emotion. And to connect with gratitude, everybody has something to be grateful for. I mean, especially if you were born in this country and the stuff that we get to experience. I mean, that's why I like to say, what a time to be alive. That's my gratitude practice. And, it's a habit. Anytime something like comes up where like, whoa, like what a time to be alive, it reminds me to be grateful that I even just live during this day and age where in human history, where we don't have to really worry about some of the stuff that our ancestors did. We can press a button on this little screen that we have in our pockets and get things delivered to our house within a couple hours. And, we have access to a bunch of different nutrition at these supermarkets. We have fresh produce. We have like cars to drive around. We have cell phones, access to all the knowledge of and information the whole human history has ever put together in our pockets. I mean, it's just all of that connecting with what we do have rather than what we don't have. Really is how I keep my things in perspective and keep my emotional state high so that I can enjoy my life I'm living.
Well, that's why, as somebody who is one of your Instagram followers. I mean, again, I'm grateful that you've taken the time to, come on this podcast and just share your story. But without really knowing you, Joe, and all I know is, what I've read about you, and again, knowing that you're a former NFL player, being in that sport, being in that violent sport. I mean, for me, I'm a hockey fan. That's my sport. I'm a short, fat white guy, so when I played hockey, it was a good fit for me, especially as a goalie. But
Mhm.
but for you, Joe, that's why I was so um, uh, taken by your Instagram, because you have this positive energy. You talk about, again, gratitude and love, and um, the love you have just with you and freedom. But being in the football world, again, how did you maintain, a positive mental energy? I mean, I found a quote again from Tom Schad's article about you. Uh, Dirk Kottner said, trying to get the defensive mad at him, so you would be like an instigator.
Oh yeah, big
Were,
time.
were was that more of a smart aleck type thing, or were you an angry football player?
No, I think it was just my competitive nature. I think early on in my career, especially in college, I would get really frustrated because I wanted to win so bad. I hated losing, and I was on a team that wasn't very good. I played at UNLV in Las Vegas. I didn't have a one single winning season, and we lost a lot of close games because we had a good team, but we just didn't know how to win. And I would end up getting really frustrated and get a lot of personal fouls, and I ended up actually getting suspended at 2 different occasions, not by anybody like the NCAA or anything, but by just my team, because and the coaches, just because they were like, Joe, you can't do this. And so learning to harness that energy and that competitive spirit, getting the NFL, you get to a point where if you're doing that, you're going to get fined a lot of money. So I had to learn how to harness that. And so I was able to, and it was part of the way I played, because I was such an undersized lineman. I was really small. I had to play hard, and I had to play with a lot of heart. And the way I did that was always go to the whistle, always, trying to push guys and get in between them and the ball and not letting them make a tackle. And I just did whatever I could. And I always did it within the boundaries of the game, but I would always try to make guys work harder. Like the defender, if they played against me, they knew they were in for a long day. And it wasn't anything cheap I was doing. It was just because I was always there, kind of making sure they know, like, I'm going to be here all day. I'm going to keep keep pushing. And it would really tire guys out. And that's the way I could show up for my teammates, to help do what I could to help wear these guys down, so that in the end we have a better shot of winning. And and that's the way I played, and that's the way I love to play. And I think that's the reason I played so long in the NFL, is because I had that competitive attitude and wanted to do anything I could to help the team win.
So where's your competitive energy these days?
Yeah, I mean, so football's taught me a lot about the mind, about mindset, about attitude, about working hard, about pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. All these things I talk about now in the real world, kind of navigating what I'm doing next in this big transition from football, is all the things I learned from football. And it's like football was such a microcosm for this grand thing we call life. And I learned a lot of life lessons all in my football career, whether it was game to game, season to season, the ups and the downs, overcoming adversity, and realizing that when you visualize and you put your mind towards something, you can accomplish anything, really. And the only thing that's getting in our way is the beliefs about what we're capable of. And so now I'm working on how can I, like, what's holding me back from achieving what I want to achieve off the field? What's holding me back to living the life I want to live for myself? And usually, I mean, majority of the time, most of the time, it's just the things getting in the way are our resistances and our self-limiting beliefs. And so going and diving within ourselves and finding out what's holding me back is really how I'm trying to navigate what I'm trying to teach other people. And that's what football has taught me. It's like the power of the mind to show up and create and visualize and learn and grow and get outside our comfort zones is like, it's such a powerful thing. And that's what I'm working on now.
If you could have an audience right now, let's say you've got a speaking event, and let's say 1,000 people right there, and the topic is all about what's happening right now in our crazy mixed up world. So we have a lot of people. I mean, our unemployment rate is insane. People filing for unemployment insurance skyrocketing.
Sure.
So with your positive, gratitude, loving energy, what would you say to that audience to help them get through not only just hour by hour, but each and every day?
I would, a couple things. I would make it known that we're all in this together. Like, you're not alone. Everybody is going through this shared experience. So you will not be left behind. There's going to be, people are going to have to rally together and get through this thing together. And, seeing how much people are showing up to help each other out is really a beautiful thing. And, it's an opportunity to really slow down. And, I think there's a lot of fear of the unknown, of what's going to happen. How am I going to get through this? And I think it goes back to what we talked about, gratitude and connecting with, am I here right now? Am I able to breathe? I know there's going to be people that, suffer, and there's going to be people that die from this thing. But if you're not one of those people and you got through, and there's going to be opportunities, this thing is going to pass. We're going to get through this thing together. And, there's been world events that happen all the time, big things, but it's usually a group of people that is affected, like 9/11 happened. It was New York City was really traumatized, and everybody kind of rallied around that. But not everybody went through that experience. We all shared the experience, but it was only a certain group of people that actually went through it. I mean, this is very unique in the fact that everybody is going through this together, and it's really an opportunity to reevaluate some of the things that need to change in our society and our culture. And we were all just moving too fast. We're moving way too fast. And it just, for what? I think this is nature, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, giving us an opportunity to really slow down and look at what we're doing and how we're living our lives. And most people are plugged in to this rat race, working to get to retirement, grinding away, trying to make money, trying to get more stuff, excess. And, this is an opportunity to slow down and really look at what's important in my life. What can I be grateful for? How can I slow down and enjoy this experience I've been gifted with to navigate this physical reality and have, loved ones that care about me, people rallying together. And, so it's just, I think it's all perspective, and knowing that we're all in this together, we will get through it together. And, diving deep into, what is it that's making you fearful of the future and of the unknown?
I'm really happy you mentioned slowing down, because that really didn't occur to me until my wife and I were on a walk recently, and we ran into somebody I happened to acquaintance, and we started talking about what's going on, and that's what my wife said too, that this is an opportunity for us as a human race to realize we do need to slow down. We do need to take a little bit of a step back and just, like you were saying, Joe, analyze your priorities. What is really important to you? And I'm so glad you said that. I also want to ask you about one of the things that I know you talked about here, but I see a lot on your Instagram feed is your cooking skills.
Mhm.
Um, I will say I'm not a fan of mushrooms, but I do enjoy watching, especially when you were still in the van. You would be in this close quarters and be able to make these really healthy, visually stimulating dishes. Has has your nutrition always been part of you? Even though I understand, as a professional athlete, you need nutrition, but has the healthy ways um, always been a part of your life? Same with the what you were talking about, the mental aspect. And when did you start doing yoga as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all a part of my transformation and my healing process. You talked about not liking mushrooms. I just needed to say this real quick. If you have you seen the documentary Fantastic Fungi yet?
Oh no, not yet.
You should check it out. It'll change your whole perspective on mushrooms. It's pretty fascinating the role that they play in how like our lives pretty much. They're just such an important thing, and they have so much medicinal qualities. But you should check that out. As far as my own nutrition, my own health, it's been a slow process. I grew up eating a lot of fast food, just the standard American diet, just uneducated, not knowing how it affects me. And I think it goes back to, like I talked about, the money thing is self-educating and then connecting with what makes me feel the best, more optimized, and how I can, affect how food affects my energy levels throughout the day and what's best for me. And it's not a thing that just happens. You have to really be diligent about it. And it takes a lot of mental work to like really kind of figure out what's best for you. And slowly learning that I'm just more, I like to call them like high vibrational foods, like not as dense, like eating more natural, like fruits, vegetables, um, healthy fats, and staying away from processed foods that are like in the box and have a lot of preservatives in them. Just really, I noticed like how they affect my body, and so I tried to stay more natural. And I did keto for a little bit after football, which was really good because keto, to get into a state of ketosis, you have to really limit the sugars and the amount of carbs, which makes it, you have to be really diligent on checking labels. And I had never checked labels before that. And I really, labels are kind of another thing that are really intimidating to look at. And if you don't know what you're looking for. And so just by making a habit of checking labels, I don't do keto now, but I check labels on everything and realizing how much sugars in everything we eat, how many carbs, how many processed, how many ingredients that are not natural, that we should not be eating, are in most of our food. And that has really made me realize like eating more natural foods and then changing my relationship with fat as well. I think fat got demonized. For our whole society thinks, it's this whole marketing ploy on low fat. I think that's starting to change, but the importance of healthy fats in our diet help keep us satiated. Like if we eat a ton of carbs and we get in this state of burning like all this glucose and sugar, then we get hungry way faster. If we're eating more fats and less carbs, we stay satiated longer. We don't actually need to eat as much food because our energy level is more sustained. It's not these peaks and valleys. And so learning all about this and how it affects me personally and what works for me, because everybody's different. I realized that as well. There's not one diet that's good for everybody. That's why I like to say eat high vibrational foods, because whatever that is, like you can look at something and be like, okay, is this more natural or is this like fake? And like being able to connect with, let me eat as many natural foods as I can, and then bringing awareness to how that makes me feel in my body. A lot of people, they eat our breakfasts are full of like high carbs, high sugars, these quote unquote healthy snack bars that people eat. I don't even eat breakfast. I usually don't eat until at least 10 or 11 a.m. Sometimes I try and wait until afternoon. And it's just this fallacy that we need to have food right when we wake up. Like the body is capable of producing energy. And then it's especially if you have sustained energy, like good sources of fats. And so really changing my whole idea about nutrition and learning about it for myself and how it affects my body has really helped decrease my inflammation in my body as well. And like all the pain and all the injuries that I've had have really, the reason I've been able to heal myself holistically is because of the fuel that I put in my body and my nutrition, along with the yoga, like we talked about. Yoga has given me so much, and it's what an amazing practice. And it wasn't until I committed to doing it daily that it really opened up my body and changed my life. And it's brought in a lot of awareness to how I feel in my body, like this mind-body connection and my mood. And it's a little bit of a meditation practice and sitting with resistance. And it's just it's like such a different feel from football, where it was like this go, do, get strong, lift heavy weights. And then, you go to yoga and I have to sit in a pose and my mind starts racing. Like, what am I doing? I need to do something else, get going. And like my monkey mind starts being like, I need to go be doing something. But it's like, no, the power is in sitting right here and feeling into my body. And so bringing that balance has been really powerful. And that's kind of what I want to teach people, is how to find balance within themselves. It's not always about doing and getting stuff done, but about allowing and surrendering and being in the moment and being present. I think that's what our whole kind of world shift is happening right now with this virus and telling us to slow down. Is like, it's like going and being on the yoga mat. Like what's coming up when you're on the yoga mat? Does your mind saying you want to go do something, want to go be somewhere, you want to accomplish something? It's like, come back to where you're at right now and slow down and just be here now. And it's been so powerful. I think that's what the whole world needs to go through, is this rebalancing.
A couple of things that came to mind, because I want to talk about your business, Live Simple, but at the same time, I don't know if you might have already thought of this, but I just want to say it out loud. I would love to see you create a coffee table book of your travels. I think that'd be a really cool book to have, and a cookbook.
Great idea. I'm writing that down.
Oh, good. Yeah. I just, because a lot of your, back to Instagram, it was just one in particular. I think you were in Virginia somewhere and it was pouring rain and you went for a bike ride. And, some of those pictures right there, I think would be a really cool coffee table book. And
Thank you.
A cookbook, man, van, dog, blog, cookbook.
Yeah, I definitely need to work on a cookbook too. It's a great idea.
So you have another business, or a side business, I should say, Live Simple. Almond nut butter, right?
Sorry, you're breaking up a little bit. I don't know if that's on my end or your end.
Your Live Simple business?
Yeah, the Live Simple business, started it a couple years ago, probably a year into my travels, and I really wanted to transition into becoming an entrepreneur and getting businesses started, and started that one and learned a lot from it, but it wasn't super successful, and actually been sitting on a pretty large amount of inventory, and just decided with my business partner that we're going to, since sales haven't been going the way we wanted, we're going to move on from that company. But we decided to give all of our inventory away to hospitals around the country to help give a healthier, nutritious snack to the nurses and the doctors that are fighting this virus. So we have over 9,000 10-pack boxes. That's over 90,000 snack packs that we're giving away to different hospitals around the country to help serve those that are sacrificing their own time and their own health to help heal this country and fight this disease that's going through. So it feels good to have an opportunity to be of service in that way. And I learned a ton through the whole business thing. I definitely do run the business and start the business in a different way, knowing what I know now. But it's really cool that it's been giving me an opportunity to really give back in this kind of way. What did I learn from the business? I learned, I learned a ton of how to work with others, what it takes to start a business, that, marketing and sales are a big part of it. I learned how to create a product, the process of working with a manufacturer, getting a recipe in order, the design, the back end, bookkeeping, building a website, and really just like all of the base things that go into business and how much it takes to go into business, and just the wide variety of skills that needed. And although it wasn't successful, I think a lot of people, I think failure teaches us more than success ever will. And I think, all the business books I've read over the last 5 years trying to get ready to become an entrepreneur, like most of them, the same lesson is you got to just go do it. And I'm so happy that I did. I just dove in, and it's fail fast, learn fast. And even though it didn't work out, I don't think it's a failure because of all the things I learned, and going to be able to bring that experience into my future endeavors. And I'm already working on a few different things and really excited about it. What has changed my life in the past 12 months? Probably all the travel and all the connections and all the people I've met, and all the work I've done on myself. I think, looking in the mirror and learning about what makes me tick, what holds me back, what are my self-limiting beliefs, where did those beliefs come from? And most of them come from our childhood, and either our family, our parents, our friends, our peers, society. These are all stories that we tell about ourselves, why we can't achieve what we want and why we maybe don't feel worthy of achieving what we want. And there's just all these deeper seated issues, and it's usually, if you're looking outside yourself and blaming other things why you can't be or do what you want to do, I really challenge you to look in the mirror and see what's holding you back. And it's probably some kind of story you're telling yourself about why you can't. And me uncovering my own stories and doing the work on myself has been really powerful. And I'm going to continue. That's a lifelong journey. That's not something you just arrive at. It's a lifelong journey, and that's the path of growth and learning. And that's definitely what I take a lot of pride in, and I love doing, is just continuing to learn and experience and grow and see what I can accomplish and what I can do and what I can become in this world. And so I'm really excited about the future and the opportunity. And it's been really a blessing during this time to have an opportunity to slow down for myself as well, because I was beginning to move fast as well. And so I don't really know what's going to happen over the next, what comes from this thing, but I'm definitely excited about the future and the opportunity that's going to present.
Thanks for listening to Blending the Family, the podcast. Hopefully you puked working out, and not because of something Tommy said. Wait. Please leave a rating and review, however you get this podcast, whether it's through the mail or from your neighbor or listening in under the couch. I don't know. You tell me.